I'm watching from afar over the last month, and we haven't had the Bears yet this year, so I'm watching from afar and seeing them doing some good things. But then I pick it up in earnest this week and diving into the numbers, seeing they're leading the NFL in explosive plays already, that their sacks have gone from the most in the NFL to top 10 and avoiding them. I think that it's all these things you had hoped and realistically hoped, just in a time frame that is way faster than you ever could have imagined. So,
Joe Davis joining us. It's Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. So then you get, fast forward and you start doing road games for the Dodgers. What was, and maybe there was no pressure for either, but tell me, like, you take over for Vin Scully, like the greatest legend ever, doing games in the booth, both locally and nationally. And then you take over nationally for Joe Buck. Was there one job that you felt more pressure on?
I think there's pressure in both, but I tried to channel it positively because, obviously there's pressure, but I think if you look at it like that, it's probably not going to serve anybody well. I think you're going to probably try to be what you think you're supposed to. You're going to probably try to be the person that you're following, and I don't think that does anybody any good. So I try to look at it as, instead of pressure, or at least take the pressure and channel it as an amazing responsibility. And more than it being pressure, in both cases, it was what made it special for me. It's why I wanted the Dodger job. I couldn't look back in 5 or 50 years and say, what if I had taken that job? I didn't because I was afraid that it wouldn't work because they'd run me out of town because I wasn't Vin. And you don't want to be the guy to replace the guy. Now, give me a break. You're going to live your life like that, to not take chances and be afraid of it happening or not happening? And then same thing with the Fox gig. Joe Buck is the guy that I grew up dreaming of being like. He's the one calling the World Series and calling all the big games when I was a kid. The chance to follow him, wow, that's a big deal and that's scary, but also it's what infused it with so much more specialness. So I just tried to look at both those situations as amazing opportunities and responsibilities more than I did, oh my goodness, this is a lot of pressure and it might not work.
And, Joe, fast forward to today. Now, is there any way to describe what you witnessed, the historic World Series between the Blue Jays and the Dodgers?
No, and I think I wish that I was able to have a better appreciation for how crazy it was. It's just such a white-knuckle experience when you're in it, trying to make sure you don't miss anything in a game like that. I would say the first 6 games, I was able to truly enjoy and feel like that I was doing both. I was hopefully doing my job right, and I was also allowing myself to enjoy it. Something about Game 7, it just became such a grip the wheel tight and make sure you don't miss anything, and these drastic jolts back and forth that I was not able to fully enjoy it, and I think it'll take some time for me to really wrap my mind around how special that Game 7 was. And maybe I won't be able to ever totally have an appreciation for where it stands. I just know I'm really, really happy to be the guy that has to figure that out.
Joe, when you tell people about the 2025 World Series in 20 years from now, what one play from any game will stand out as the biggest or the one you remember most?
Wow, that is a great question. I'm still sorting through all the big plays that happen in Game 7. Like every conversation I have about Game 7, somebody reminds me of another moment that had just been pushed out of my mind by another big moment, by a seemingly bigger moment. I'll say this. I thought the World Series was over when that ball left Ernie Clement's bat that Andy Pages caught in left center. I didn't think there was any way that it was going to be caught. I'll say I didn't think there was any way Kike Hernandez was going to catch it over the shoulder. And at first, I thought that was the only option. So that was the moment where it was like, well, this is ending. I also go back to the double play that finished off Game 6. And when I said at the end of Game 7, to beat the champ, you got to knock him out, that's where it started to feel like that. You know, like they had so many chances, the Blue Jays did, to put them away. You guys know, throughout sports history, you have chances to knock off the team that should win, the team that did win the year before. You better seize it, or it starts to smell funny. And when that double play happened, they were down 3-1, but they were right there with a chance to tie that game and win that game and end the series without even going to Game 7. That's a moment that will stick with me for sure.
You start to believe in destiny, or maybe it's just great managing when you realize that that Dave Roberts removes Edman from the lineup and puts Paez in. And if Edman's still in there, Joe, there's a very good chance, that ball's not caught, correct?
Two things I think about that, because Tommy Edman's got a bad ankle. I don't think he's covering that ground. I also don't think he's crazy like Andy Paez is and just going to truck his teammate like that. And the other thing from Dave Roberts' side of it, I don't know that managers are ever going to get enough credit when they're good. I think they get too much heat when things don't go well. Here's an instance where he should probably be getting even more credit than we're taking the time to give him, and that talking about Dave Roberts. You mentioned the Paez substitution pitches before. How about Dave Roberts playing a hunch that Miguel Rojas was the fix to the lineup? Yeah. Guy hadn't played in a month. He goes in for Game 6, several key defensive plays, including picking that ball on a game-ending double play. And we all know what he did with his bat. While we're all focused on the guy on deck, what can Ohtani do? Is he going to have a chance to tie it or give him the lead? And then bang, Rojas clips him before you even get to Ohtani. But those are two decisions from Dave Roberts right there that directly led to the Dodgers surviving and then winning.
Yeah. Joe Davis joining us, Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. You as the voice of the Dodgers, Neil Funk did the Bulls for so many years, and he got to see 5 championships with Michael. Is it ever lost on you what you're witnessing and what you're chronicling locally, at least, doing Shohei Ohtani's games?
We actually use those 90s Bulls teams just amongst ourselves on the crew as like, hey, let's appreciate what we're seeing here. We're seeing 90s Bulls level stuff. We're seeing the kind of stuff they make documentaries about decades from now. When I think of Shohei Ohtani, I always get this, I don't know why, but I always picture some of the thicker books that I have in my office, like the Babe Ruth biography or the Ted Williams biography. He's the kind of guy that gets a book like that written about him. And just to be able to watch that unfold, to watch that history book unfold. Sure, there are times where you get lost in the day-to-day grind of the season, but it's really easy to smack yourself and snap out of that and appreciate the greatness, the all-time greatness that you're seeing, especially when it comes to Shohei Ohtani, but you widen the lens a little bit. Simply this era of Dodger baseball, I'm so lucky to be in that chair for.
Joe, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Mad Dog goes off like Mad Dog goes off, Mad Dog Russo. And he says, like, you're doing the national game, and then you're there at the Dodger parade because you're the voice of the Dodgers, just like, Boog can do Cubs Brewers, but he's also the voice of the Cubs. So, like, when you get that, and, like, Waddle and I both watched you were as unbiased as it could be. So what do you say to anybody like Mad Dog who says, well, Joe Davis is a Dodger voice. What's he doing the national stuff?
Yeah, I think that, look, last year, Yankees fans hated me before they heard me because I'm the Dodger guy. Dodger fans get upset because in that case, I'm getting more excited for the Yankees than they're used to me getting. It's part of the territory, right? It's like, and it's part of what makes sports amazing. The somewhat, sometimes irrational love and hate that we have for our teams and the people that cover them. And I get it. I get that it comes with the territory. I think that it's important, along with that you don't spend too much time worrying about it, because it's human nature to, if you do spend too much time worrying about what other people think, it's going to affect the way you do your job. So I do my best to not let that stuff bother me. I got off Twitter a month before I did my first postseason as the lead guy. Best thing I've ever done. So I know people say stuff, but I can't really give a you-know-what.
Yeah.
So I know, but it works both ways. It's amazing when people say that they like what I'm doing. Of course, I appreciate it so much, but I can't put any more stock into that than I can the negative stuff. I know when I'm good. I know when I stink. I don't need anybody else to tell me that. So I think that's really important when you get into a spot in any realm of work where there's some criticism, that you gauge it and you judge it internally. And it doesn't always work that way, but I think that's an important goal to set for yourself.
Tell us a little bit about Game 3. It was like 6 hours and 39 minutes. I mean, was there a wardrobe change? What did you do? Was there an IV involved? What did you do to get through almost 7 hours of baseball?
I actually didn't pee. So that's something that's impressive. I swear. Yeah. Afterwards, I was like, "Dang, that's good stuff, dude." My wife had come to the game, and she's not a huge sports fan. We had a friend in town from Michigan who her dream had always been to go to a World Series game. She happened to be visiting when that happened, so my wife and her friend went to the game. I was the ride home, so my wife, who average bedtime is like 8:20, she had no choice but to stay. So that was a fun part of it. It was so cool. She very much appreciated how special of a game it was coming out of it. All I'm thinking is like, oh, man, she's going to be so mad that she's still here and not sleeping. But she appreciated it. She loved it. You know what was fun, guys, was that, and again, I talk about Game 7 being kind of high stress and not quite as fun and as free as the first 6. Game 3, equally as crazy, but without the level of tension that comes with somebody's life is about to be ended here, not to be too dramatic. The outcome of the game wasn't going to decide the World Series. So Game 3 was beautiful because it was the tension of a World Series game that went on and on. But also for me, selfishly, it was a lot of fun because I felt like I got to just be myself and have some fun with it and let myself come through, which in a World Series game you're not often going to get to do, especially not in a great World Series game where it's tight and it's tense. That was the best of both. I got to let myself be myself and also call a thriller.
One of the benefits of being 37 years of age, you can go almost 7 hours without having to go to the bathroom. That's not something you and I could do.
I can't go an hour.
Yeah, so that's one of the benefits.
Bladder size is not a strength of mine either, but I dug deep, boys. Like, I do not like the window seat because I don't like bugging the guy in the aisle. I go a lot. I just happened to be on my game that night, I guess.
I love it. All right, so you're doing, you and Greg Olson. Greg Olson's one of our favorites. We think he's as good as anybody doing any sport. He is so good. What do you think of our Bears? Take us through your thoughts on Caleb and Ben Johnson.
Oh, I love it, man. It's so good for the NFL when the Bears are good. It's certainly good for us at Fox being NFC heavy, and I mean, I'm a huge restaurant guy, so anytime Chicago's good, I love coming into town. Specific to the Bears and the matchup, it's what you had hoped the Bears could become when you heard Ben Johnson was the hire, pairing him with Caleb Williams. But I don't know if you could dream on it looking quite this explosive, this fast. I expected to be, I'm watching from afar over the last month, and we haven't had the Bears yet this year, so I'm watching from afar and seeing them doing some good things. But then I pick it up in earnest this week and diving into the numbers, seeing they're leading the NFL in explosive plays already, that their sacks have gone from the most in the NFL to top 10 and avoiding them. I think that it's all these things you had hoped and realistically hoped, just in a time frame that is way faster than you ever could have imagined. So, man, it's awesome that the Bears are exciting, and it's legit reason for the excitement. And on the other side, yeah, they're 2-7, but they've lost the close games the Bears have won. I think because of the young quarterback, Jackson Dart, 2-7, but with this hint of optimism and excitement there as well. So it's a good way for me to get back into football. I can't wait to get there.